So three focus areas that include natural resources, infrastructure, and resilience. And each of these focus areas has subcategories. Natural resources includes water and wastewater, sanitation and recycling, and green spaces. Infrastructure and services includes energy efficiency, sustainable buildings and transportation. And resiliency includes stormwater management, flood mitigation, and infrastructure hardening. The plan includes current progress, recommended actions, goals, and performance indicators that would allow for progress to be tracked. Here are some of the city's notable progress. The Ready for 100 pledge, do clean energy connection, the completed public solar, deploying solar array for the library expansion, LED street lights, LED building rates. We continue to evaluate free EV and hybrid opportunities, completed the sidewalk and bicycle facility master plan, and install new and efficient HVAC systems. A complete list of progress is on page 5 of the draft. Using the city facility energy and water, we are tracking city facility and energy and water usage through the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So our first focus area and subcategory of the plan is natural resources, water and wastewater. This is just a brief overview of a typical building's water use, and you'll notice that 37% is utilized for sanitary purposes, including toilets and sinks. Water is a precious resource, and there is much we can do to preserve the water supply at the city level and at the homeowner and business level. The city continues to complete CIP projects that replace aging infrastructure, aligning pipes to ensure water quality, reduce water loss, and prevent inflow and infiltration into the sanitary sewer system. Or can be done at the user level by installing efficient fixtures, fixing leaks, installing drought-tolerant plants, using rainwater harvesting, and so much more. By implementing simple, actionable items now, we can make a difference long into the future. Our next category is going to be green spaces, and we all know it starts in the parks, but parks and green spaces are so important to environmental actions. The city boasts over 130 acres of parkland, and these green spaces have a positive impact on our overall stormwater systems, clean air, public health, and they reduce the heat island effect. And they also provide space for urban agriculture and modeling of sustainability and resiliency practices. Our Parks Department has implemented green industry practices into daily park maintenance and making our acres of parkland have an even bigger positive impact on sustainability. So next we get to our sanitation and recycling. The state of Florida has set aggressive targets for recycling. Utilization of the waste energy plant is considered recycling by statute. Recycling reduces the amount of trash that is landfilled, and our landfills are an infinite resource. Pinellas County has one landfill with a life expectancy of 75 to 80 years remaining. To ensure waste is not landfilled, the city, residents, and business owners can implement simple action items to reduce waste. Waste reduction can occur at events by utilizing reusable cups and biodegradable silverware, and a shift can be made to ensure that disposable paper products are purchased. They are purchased from ecologically responsible manufacturers. And we move on to infrastructure and energy efficiency. So in order to create a plan and budget for city facility upgrades, we must first complete a building audit to set baselines. Simple improvements could be smart thermostats, occupancy sensors, lighting upgrades, and sealing the building envelope. And other options that will be reviewed are solar at other city facilities. So now we move on to transportation. The city currently has one EV charging station at the library, and Duke is discontinuing their involvement with this at the end of the year. But the city is currently working with another vendor to install alternate stations at the site, as well as looking at other locations. The city has recently completed its sidewalk and bicycle facility master plan and will begin implementing the plan with the first project soon on 9th Avenue North. This plan creates a safe, walkable, and bikeable city, therefore reducing our carbon footprint. The city continues to look at sustainable options when it comes to our overall CIP programming for transportation infrastructure, which includes utilizing full-depth reclamation processes for roadway reconstruction. This process recycles the asphalt and base material in place. So now that we've talked about sustainability, we can move into the resiliency part and stormwater management. The city has a dedicated stormwater enterprise fund for the maintenance and construction of city's stormwater facilities. The city is governed by requirements set forth under the EPA Clean Water Act and must report our annual stormwater activities to FDEP on our NPDES report. This report must indicate our reduction of pollutants to any adjacent water body, maintenance, debris removal, training, so on and so on. A resilient stormwater system will be able to withstand and recover from adverse weather conditions. By implementing stormwater best management practices as indicated in the city's Stormwater Division Maintenance Operation Guidelines, reviewing development plans and ensuring they meet the city's land development code, completing proactive and reactive illicit discharge inspections, and continuing to integrate new projects that include expanding green space for stormwater infiltration will improve the city's stormwater resiliency. So, when most people think of resiliency, they often tie in floods and flood mitigation. As we saw during Hurricane Idalia, the city's mangroves along North and South Bayshore are so vital to attenuating floodwaters and decreasing the damage caused by tidal waves. The city works to keep stormwater pipes, creeks, ponds, our creeks and ponds clear and flowing. We also currently are working on the watershed management plan and the vulnerability assessment. The watershed management plan will survey the city's current infrastructure and recommend improvements. The vulnerability assessment will do a deeper dive into the city's flood risk, sea level rise, and mitigation. Now we move on to our infrastructure hardening, and everyone has heard the buzzwords global warming and sea level rise. Why is this important? It will have an impact on our local infrastructure. In 2021, FEMA updated their flood map for coastal areas of Pinellas County, impacting flood zones and base flood elevations. The changes to the map downgraded about 3% of homes in the county from high-risk zone and 1% increase to a high risk. Additional recommendations will be provided once the city completes the vulnerability assessment. However, the city has already adopted the Peril of Flood Act within a comprehensive plan. Some other ways buildings and homes can prepare for adverse condition is by integrating renewable energy sources and weatherizing against extreme conditions. So with all that being said, we are looking for your inputs, comments, and directions. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. That was very good and informative. So I'll open it up and see if there's any questions or comments.
Well, I guess I have a very nice presentation, and I appreciate the effort staff and yourself and everyone put into it. A lot of the things which are in here have been worked on here already.
Mm-hmm.
One value I think I see in this is that even though they've been operated in different places, they're consolidated together in one location, which I can see some value to. Maybe it's premature, I guess, at this level, but there isn't a whole focus of marching orders in here that I can see. And I understand that when the vulnerability assessment comes out and the study on watershed that we've been working on, those will have some recommendations. And I see in here that those recommendations would then be incorporated into this type of a document, which will add a little more meat to the.
Yes.
Do you see that at this point, this is kind of a start, and then as you continue to look at some of these things, you'll come up with some additional recommendations that we can actually implement?
Yes, and we also have the funding for the building assessment, which is also going to provide more, is going to provide more guidance as far as city facilities go as well.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Mers, also, we're gonna have to take this plan and kind of incorporate it into our CIP plan, like our 5-year plan, because, you know, it's all gonna be contingent upon funding. There's not a separate funding mechanism for any of this, so it's gonna have to be as we either upgrade facilities or upgrade vehicles or have the funding in the CIP to make some of the improvements that will be needed. And some of it we can do with existing funding or won't cost a whole lot. Like there's low-hanging fruit, but then there's bigger items that we'll have to program in the actual budget. So this will be like eventually will be the roadmap to do that.
Yeah, because things like LEDs we've been doing for
Yeah.
years, right? Looking at automobiles and determining whether or not alternative vehicles are cost-effective or whatnot. So those kind of things have already been done. It's just, it's good to see that they're maybe combined into a single document that as CIP grows, that we're not randomly addressing it.
Yeah, we did things throughout the last, I don't know, 5-10 years, just because they were good ideas or good things to do. But now we have, you're right, now we can compile it all in one area, and in some ways with these studies, we can track it, and then we can have the baseline, as Colin said, we can have the baseline. I'm sorry, I'll move closer. Sorry. So we'll have the baseline, and then we can track it moving forward, and, yeah, bringing it all underneath one kind of umbrella is helpful.
And that's the overall intention.
Yes.
My question would be, so I know we've implemented the LEDs. In other words, how close are we to retrofit with the LEDs citywide, et cetera? I know we've been replacing with LEDs, right?
At facilities or at,
Facilities.
what would you say, 85%?
Oh, so that's a big accomplishment. to be
Oh,
able
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other issue, I think, which would be pretty easy to tackle, would be to bring in some solar. I know the price is here and it's been coming down steadily, but to me, it seems like a no-brainer to be able to begin to kind of, I guess, bring in solar to all our different facilities in the city, not just the library. I mean, City Hall should probably have it. And again, I don't know the roofing, whether there's ability to do it, but Community Center, the Rigsby Center, all these facilities seem as if we could begin to kind of move in that direction too. That's all part of what we're doing.
So the building assessment that we had talked about, that you had previously approved a couple of meetings ago, includes that consultant actually looking at our roofs and looking at the locations and giving us that assessment and which facilities will be best suited for a solar array. Yes.
And they'll factor the roof structure, trees, you know, the direction of the roof, which way it faces, they'll factor all that in there. Keep in mind, we also have been participating, we're one of the original participators in the Duke Energy Clean Energy Connection Program. And I think that's over 50%, somewhere around there, of it keeps going up because they keep building solar arrays, and then we told them we'll keep buying into that. So there's a certain percentage of our energy right now that is part of the clean energy program. So even if we don't have enough, because we wouldn't have enough room on all of our facilities to put enough solar for all of our
To be
needs.
100%, I get that.
That's right, yeah.
I get that, but it
but
just seems like we could begin to offset
Some of it.
some of the, electrical costs and as well have, kind of participating in energy use. But just, that just seems to me like such a no-brainer. And I know solar's expensive, but compared to some of the other things, I think it's attainable, so.
What about irrigation? I saw in the presentation that irrigation represented like 30% of the cost. Do we have any kind of plans on trying to cut down?
So part of the initiatives would be to actually reduce the amount of irrigation we use in the first place. So using Florida-friendly landscaping that is drought resistant, and if there's green areas that aren't being used, maybe let them kind of go natural, but ultimately trying to reduce the amount of irrigation that we have to use in the first place.
We were talking about the waterfront park, putting irrigation. I mean, that's kind of having nice grass with.
Trade-off.
There's no grass out there.
It's
just dirt at
a
this
trade-off, and then when you're that
Trade-off,
close,
yeah.
and you're that close to the bay, there's few options. So yeah, we're gonna have a nice monthly bill to keep the grass.
But it could be seasonal.
Yeah, it
so
could
that-
be.
So
Yeah.
that you're not utilizing
Yeah, right
irrigation
now,
during the rainy season.
I think right now there's a restriction. I think it's 1 day a week since 12/1. So hey, we're in a drought right now. So.
Well, let me just jump in. I would, some good things were just mentioned, I think as part of this draft. Work that has already been done, and things like the 85% on the, that we've already reached on the LEDs, or the contributions that we have already done with Duke Energy in comparison to the total amount. Those type of things should be incorporated in this document, so that we know where we are and where we've come from, and then what areas we still have to compete with.
Yes.
I wanted to say thank you for the update on the website. I mentioned it to Mr. Spore because a resident mentioned it to me. You made it happen, so thank you very much. And Commissioner Diaz, I want to jump on what you're saying about our goals and what we want to achieve. And then we're going to be irrigating, and we're going to be trying to have pretty grass. And so what I'm hopeful is that we're also looking at other ground cover. I heard Florida friendly. And so I hope that we're thinking about something. I have an invasive from 30 years ago, wood dahlia, pretty little yellow, but there's also a peanut plant, I know,
Peanut grass.
peanut grass. And so I hope that we'll do that so that we won't have to irrigate so much to hold it together out there. Because I know it's not fun to have a mudslide for the dogs, but
Well,
I
it's not
also.
necessarily mud, it's just, it's so dry now out there. And from the salt water, when we had that surge a while back, it's gonna be unusual this year because, it's got wiped out from the salt water on top of just, during the winter, that's what happens to grass in Florida, so.
And I'm very interested in knowing what alternatives we have
For the waterfront
for
park?
the waterfront park, to make it look nice, but to reduce the need to irrigate.
All right. Well, why don't we see if anyone from the public has any questions or comments, and we can turn it back up to us after that and go from there. Sorry, I was gonna say, we're gonna open it up to the. Okay, so can you hear me now? Okay, well, we're trying here. Okay, does anybody from the audience wish to be heard on this agenda item? If so, please come forward. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
you know, I'm a big, tree lover. I've been doing some reading on and on irrigation, using wildflowers, that are indigenous to this area. Along the area, they populate themselves, they just keep repopulating. They're easily under control, they look gorgeous along the road. But, I mean, that's one I did, the peanut, that's a great plant. I did wanna say that I really appreciate seeing this, it made me feel good. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
How do we irrigate the ball fields, the safety Harbor Park?
Yeah, the ball fields, we do have a well. Yeah, we have a well. It's right there on the corner by the skate park.
Is there a well we could use for the waterfront park?
I don't know, the closer you get to the bay, the harder it is to get a well, but we can look into it. Well, yeah.
Anyone else wish to chime in? Any further questions or comments from anyone up here? Well, Colin and Renee, thank you very much. Appreciate the update and all the hard work you're doing to make us sustainable, or more sustainable. So with that, we'll end this workshop.
If I move this right here.
I'm gonna ask